The candles were lit, the dress was ready, a tribute to a love story decades in the making. But the pews,
Empty.
completely empty.
Yeah.
No massive crowd, no international press. Just a ticking clock.
You're at the Australia Zoo. It's March 25, 2020.
And the world is literally shutting down around them.
It's a scene straight out of a movie script, isn't it? You have this build-up, this huge celebration, and it just collides head-on with a global catastrophe.
And the Australian government is just hours away from enforcing a strict lockdown, one that bans weddings with more than 5 people.
Right. This wasn't just, rain on your wedding day. This was a race against federal law.
Exactly. A whole year of planning for 200 guests was just dismantled in hours. The wildest wedding in celebrity history wasn't wild because of the animals. It was wild because of that race against time. Welcome to StarScope Report.
Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we are talking Bindi Irwin and Chandler Powell. But if you think this is just some fluffy wedding story, you really need to lean in.
Yeah, this is a story about a pandemic pivot, a father's ghostly presence, a literal crock-pond test, and how a dynasty adapts to a crisis.
So whether you grew up watching The Crocodile Hunter or you just love a chaotic celebrity wedding story, this is how the Irwin family handles a complete meltdown.
Let's dive in. The headline for this first part is "The Minimony That Almost Wasn't."
It sounds stressful just thinking about it.
It really was, so let's set the context. Bindi and Chandler had spent nearly a year planning this massive celebration at the Australia Zoo for April 2020.
We're talking 200 people, friends, family, the whole deal.
And then, of course, COVID hits. The Australian government announces that by midnight, weddings are restricted to 5 people total.
5. That's the couple, the officiant, and 2 witnesses. That's it.
It's insane, so they had to cancel everything immediately. No friends, no extended family, just the core unit.
And imagine that emotional whiplash. I mean, you go from this huge gala to suddenly having to uninvite everyone you love.
And Chandler's family, that's a key detail people forget. His parents and family were in the U.S.
They couldn't fly in. The borders were shutting. It's just heartbreaking.
It is. But the visuals of what they pulled off are, they're stunning. They used the Australia Zoo gardens. The aisle was just the garden path.
But, while the photos look so serene, the reality on the ground was chaotic. They had paparazzi helicopters buzzing overhead.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the media knew something was up. So they're not just fighting a virus, they're fighting this huge media intrusion.
It adds this layer of, a siege mentality to the whole thing. And that guest list, let's talk about that. 3 guests.
Just 3.
Mom, Tara Lee, brother, Robert, and Wes Mannion, Steve Irwin's best friend.
Plus the zoo crew required to film it, because, let's be honest, the Irwins document everything.
Well, they have to. That's the business model, which we will get to later. But I want to focus on the dress for a second.
Oh, the dress was beautiful.
The details are they're heartbreakingly beautiful. It was a long-sleeve A-line gown with sunflower lace.
And that wasn't just a fashion choice, right?
Yeah.
The sunflowers were a direct tribute to her dad, Steve.
How so?
She said in an interview that when she was a little girl, she and Steve used to drive through sunflower fields together. It was their special thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. She originally wanted to wear her mom's 1992 dress, but it was just too old, too fragile. So she found a gown that mimicked the style, but added that sunflower detail to keep Steve close.
That is incredible. And they didn't skimp on the cake either, despite having almost no one to eat it.
A 4-tier masterpiece, designed to look like tree bark, topped with pink and white roses.
And inside,
Vanilla and strawberry. Apparently, that was Robert's choice.
the little brother still gets to say, I love it. But, there was a lot of commentary online at the time. If you look at the Reddit threads, people were really scrutinizing the photo.
Oh, the internet loves a witch hunt.
They do. They were asking, is that social distancing? Is it a mass gathering?
To be fair to the critics, the aerial photos did look a little misleading. If you don't have context, you just see a group of people at a zoo during a lockdown.
Right. It looks bad. The family had to do some serious PR to clarify that, no, they all lived there. They were an isolated unit.
It just stripped the event down to its absolute core. No spectacle, just the vow.
But if you think planning a wedding in a pandemic is hard, try dating an Irwin. Coming up, the terrifying test Chandler had to pass before he could even propose.
We'll tell you about the one requirement Steve Irwin had for anyone who wanted to marry his daughter. It involves a 15-foot predator and a lot of water.
So, yeah, let's talk about that test. The headline here is basically swimming with predators to win the girl.
No pressure at all.
None. So let's go back. The meet cute. November 2013. Chandler Powell is a professional wakeboarder from Florida.
Right from Sefner. He's just visiting the Australia Zoo on a trip.
And Bindi, who is basically teenage royalty at this point, gives him the tour.
And sparks fly, clearly. But dating Bindi Irwin isn't normal. You don't just have to impress the dad. You have to impress the entire legacy. You have to fit into this life of dangerous animals and conservation.
And Steve Irwin had a famous rule. He said it in an interview once. Bindi couldn't marry anyone unless they could swim across the crocodile pond first.
Now, surely he was joking. That has to be dad hyperbole, right?
Well, partially. I mean, Chandler didn't literally have to swim for his life, but he did have to integrate into zoo life in a way that would be terrifying for a normal person.
And Bindi's vows actually reveal the exact moment she fell in love with him.
What was it?
It was watching Chandler jump into the water with a 15-foot crocodile during a demonstration. And get this, enjoying it.
That is a very specific love language. I saw you nearly get eaten by a reptile, and I knew you were the one.
But it makes sense. If you can't handle wildlife, you can't handle the Irwin life.
Exactly. It takes a special kind of person to leave Florida wakeboarding to become a khaki-wearing croc wrestler.
He really committed. And the proposal itself, back in July 2019, that was also deeply embedded in that family dynamic.
Oh, this is one of my favorite details. It happened on Bindi's 21st birthday, and her brother, Robert, was hiding in the bushes to take photos.
A classic little brother move.
But it gets better. Robert actually stood in as a stand-in bride to test the lighting beforehand.
No way.
Yes. So there are photos somewhere on a hard drive of Chandler proposing to Robert just to make sure the shot was framed correctly.
I would pay good money to see those photos. It just shows how incredibly tight-knit that family unit is.
Me too. But let's go back to the ceremony itself, because even though Steve wasn't there physically, his presence was it was undeniable.
Absolutely. They had a large easel photo of Steve and his dog, Suey, standing right there at the altar.
And they lit a candle for him.
And they'll walk down the aisle. Robert was only 16 at the time.
16 years old.
Walking his sister down the aisle. That's a massive emotional weight for a teenager. Stepping into those shoes. It's not just walking my sister. It's, I'm representing our father to the world right now.
And Bindi's vows, she apparently wrote 1,000 words about Chandler.
1,000 words.
And literally ran out of notebook paper.
That is so Bindi. So on brand.
And Chandler spoke about the stars aligning for a Florida boy and a Queensland girl. It really just emphasizes how unlikely the whole thing was on paper.
It's the ultimate fish out of water story, except the fish learned to wrestle crocodiles.
Exactly. The wedding was small, but the family was about to get bigger. And we're not just talking about animals. Up next, the miracle that arrived exactly 1 year later.
Stay tuned to hear how a medical battle almost stopped the Irwin line from continuing, and the miracle baby that defied the odds.
Okay, let's unpack this timeline because it is almost too perfect to be true.
It really is.
The headline here is Grace Warrior and the Vow Renewal. So the wedding was March 25, 2020.
Right.
Their daughter is born on March 25, 2021.
Exactly 1 year later. To the day.
The statistical odds of that have to be tiny. It's so poetic. But the name choice is where the real depth is.
Her name is Grace Warrior Irwin Powell.
Oh.
And every single part of that name is just heavy with meaning.
Grace is named after Bindi's great-grandmother and relatives in Chandler's family from, like, the 1700s.
But Warrior Irwin, that's the punch. That is a direct tribute to Steve's wildlife warrior legacy.
It's branding, but it's also identity. She was born a warrior, and sadly, Bindi had to be a warrior too. We found out later that she'd been fighting this silent battle with endometriosis for a decade.
And this is where the story shifts from a fairy tale to a really gritty medical reality. For 10 years, she was dealing with fatigue, pain, nausea, all while smiling for the cameras and running a zoo.
And she finally had surgery in 2023. The doctors found 37 lesions and a chocolate cyst.
37 lesions. Just think about that. The pain must have been excruciating.
Yeah.
And endometriosis, it directly impacts fertility.
That's the heavy part. She revealed in her People magazine interview that Grace is likely their one child. She called her a miracle.
Yeah, she urged people to be gentle when asking couples about having more kids, because you just never know what battle they're fighting.
That context makes the birth of Grace on their first anniversary feel even more significant. It wasn't just, oh, they had a baby. It was, they beat the biological odds to have this baby.
It changes how you see that timeline entirely.
Exactly. And now that Grace is a bit older, there's talk of a second wedding.
Yes. Reports are surfacing that Bindi wants a vow renewal.
Which makes total sense. The first wedding was crisis management. It was beautiful, but it was survival. A vow renewal is about celebration.
And they want to finally include Chandler's family. Remember, his parents missed their son's wedding. That's a huge gap to fill.
And now Grace Warrior is old enough to participate. Can you just imagine the photos?
It's going to be adorable. But here is where it gets really interesting for me. I had a bit of an aha moment looking at the zoo's business filings.
What did you find?
The business of love.
Nah.
The Irwins are brilliant at conservation. But let's be real, they're also brilliant at keeping that zoo funded.
Sure, it must cost a fortune.
A fortune. And I noticed that Australia Zoo now sells wedding packages. And they seem directly inspired by the Irwin experience.
Wait, so you can buy the Bindi wedding?
Essentially. They've commercialized the romance. They have the enchanting elopement package. They have the Serengeti safari, where you can get married near rhinos and giraffes.
No way.
And get this, you can rent Roo Heaven to get married among the kangaroos. There's even a specific vow renewal package listed for over $3,000.
That is fascinating. So they took this personal crisis, this tiny stripped-down wedding, and they turned it into a commercial model for the zoo.
It's a masterclass in branding. They've successfully turned their personal romance into a part of the zoo's conservation funding model. You want the fairy tale. You can pay for it, and that money goes to saving wildlife.
Is that cynical? Or is it just genius?
I think it's necessary. Conservation is expensive. If selling a fairy tale wedding helps buy food for the crocodiles, Steve would probably love it.
That's a good point. And honestly, who wouldn't want a giraffe as a wedding guest?
I would take a giraffe over some of my distant cousins, to be honest.
Definitely. If you love these deep dives into celebrity milestones and how they turn them into empires, you should hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories that go beyond the headlines coming up.
Seriously, do it. We have some wild stories in the pipeline.
So let's wrap this up. We've gone from a wakeboarder visiting a zoo to a husband jumping in with Crocs.
From a 200-person gala to a 3-person lockdown ceremony.
And from a Minimony to a potential grand renewal with a toddler named Warrior. The story isn't just about a wedding, it's about adaptability.
It's about keeping a legacy alive through names like Grace and Warriors. And I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
In a world where celebrity weddings are usually about the spectacle, the guest list, the drama, did the pandemic actually give Bindi the most authentic Irwin experience possible?
What do you mean?
Think about it. No fluff. No paparazzi swarming the gates because of the lockdown, just family, animals, and survival. Isn't that exactly what Steve Irwin stood for? Maybe the lockdown didn't ruin the wedding. Maybe it perfected it.
That's a profound thought, just family and survival. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.